Well, welcome. Thank you. It's absolutely terrific to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces from work that I did at Harvard and around the world. But I want to start today by telling you something that is going to sound probably impossible, probably extremely arrogant, but I'm going to tell you after I hopefully grab you with this statement what that statement's easier than you think. And the statement is simply this. At the Kennedy School and around the world over the last almost 20 years, I developed a communication paradigm that was designed to say we're communicating wrongly. We're communicating thinking that when you give presentations or speeches or interviews, if I can show that I'm smart, that I know the topic, that I'm good at what I do, people are going to love me. And what we found was that wasn't true. In fact, what we found, when you give a speech or a presentation and you try to wow people with big words and I know policy and I'm really good at what I do, they not only don't like you, they think you're being rude to them. They think you're saying you're smarter than I am. And where this started, so my statement is, I guarantee you, if you take the lessons that we developed, it wasn't me alone, there's a lot of people that were doing research over the last generation or so, take the principles that I'm going to outline today, and you practice them. I not only will make you a good speaker, I guarantee you I'll make you a great speaker. That's the arrogant part, right? I mean, who am I to say I can make anybody? But here's why it's not, because I'm not the one doing it, you are. The capacity for you to be a great communicator is already within you. I'm just going to show you, based on our research, how to go get it and bring it to your presentations. It's extremely simple. In fact, I would argue now, after 20 years, it's very scientific. I can tell you, if you stand a certain way, you'll connect better with an audience and show that you're confident, that you show that you're friendly, you show that you're likable, believable, credible. And if you hold your hands and your feet and do things with your face differently, people aren't going to like it. We have tested this to the tune of $200 million over the last generation all over the world. And that's the beauty of this. When I first started doing this, by way of background, I had worked in political campaigns, been a political consultant, a political manager, mostly in the US. But when I started teaching at Harvard, half of my students were international. And invariably, those students would come up to me and say, oh, this might work in the US, but it won't work where I come from. And I thought, God, that doesn't seem right. Human communication is much easier than we make it. Human communication is much more consistent than we think. And so I'd had a lot of requests to work internationally, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to prove these students wrong, or they're going to prove me wrong. And so I started training and teaching internationally. And after 15 years or so, 16 at the Kennedy School, we found that communication is indeed very universal. But let me take now, with that on the table, let me take a step back and tell you where this kind of came about. I had been a communication, in my undergrad, my master's, my PhD program, I was in communication. But after a period of about 20 years of doing this, I was stymied. I thought, and I was a speechwriter, and I thought I was a very good speechwriter. Turns out I wasn't, because I was writing speeches I could give. I wasn't writing speeches that you could give, and I needed to. But I didn't know that at the time. I thought, here's my problem. I know a lot of politicians that are really smart. They know policy. They're in it for the right reasons, and they get killed at the polls. And I know other politicians that aren't necessarily very bright, don't necessarily know politics, but they are loved at the polls. So what is it in their communication? If people aren't respecting intellect or understanding of policy, what are they respecting? Well, about that time, the University of California, Los Angeles published a study that kind of blew the doors off human communication as we knew it. The premise of the study was when a speaker communicates, what part of that communication paradigm do people connect to? Now, the communication paradigm, as we know, is the words, right? I'm saying something. We used to think that was it. If I just could be smart and have good words, people are going to love me. But there's more to it than that, right? Facial gestures, voice, obviously, hand gestures, right? That's kind of what we thought the communication paradigm was up until about 20 years ago. Okay, it's facial gestures, hand gestures, voice, and the words. Well, then this UCLA study came out, and the authors thought, when they asked people what part of human communication, when someone communicates with you, do you connect to? They thought it would be 70, 80% to words, because it makes sense. I can't sit up here and read out of a phone book, right? I can't, Barry Anderson, Sally Anderson, Susie Anderson, Johnny Anderson. You'd go, the guy's an idiot. He's reading out of a phone book. So the words matter, right? But what the UCLA study found, and it's been replicated many times since, when they asked people what they connected to, 55% said body language. 55, over half. Come on. 38% said voice. Only 7% said they connect to the words. Think of that. When you practice a speech or a presentation, you write hours. Oh, I got to have the right words. I got to make this, I got to show I'm smart. People don't connect to it. 92%, almost 93% of people, after they hear a speech, including speakers here today, will say, I can't remember a word the speaker said. Does that make it a bad speech? Not necessarily. Because what you very often find, I can't remember a word, and you say, so you thought Steve was bad today? Oh no, I love the guy. He inspired me. He made me feel good. He made me feel happy. He made me angry, whatever it is. But you can't remember a word. It doesn't matter. Well, when that UCLA study came out, for me in my research, it was, okay, I don't quite get this body language stuff and this voice stuff. How can that be more powerful than the words? Well, we started to research and determine what moves body language, what moves voice, changes it, changes the tone. Passion. Passion. And when you think about it, 98% of human communication is very interactive. Hey, how you doing? What'd you do for dinner last night? Oh my God, did you see in the United States Will Smith smacked Chris Rock? And we get animated. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. That's how we talk, 98% of the time. So why, when we give a speech, good afternoon, I'm Steve Jarding, I'm here to teach you communication study, and it's really exciting. Why do we do that? Why do we change the way we communicate in these professional settings? Speeches, presentations, interviews. Why do we do that? Because for the most part, it's one-way communication. I'm giving a speech. I'm talking to you. Normally, we go, oh God, look at this, all these people. I'll just read this thing. Boom, 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 boom. And when I read it, I kill it. I don't mean kill it in a good way. I mean, it's dead. There's nothing to that speech. Now, in the communication training, there's one way you can read a speech, but otherwise we encourage, that simple line in my communication training is, if you read your speech, you killed it. You died. But you can use speech font. You can use a teleprompter. Most people can't afford that. Most facilities don't have them. So we would show you how to use speech font, where you literally are reading every word, but the audience can't tell that you're doing it. Because speech font slows you down. Most human communicators, when they give a speech, they speak at 12 words at a time before they take a pause. They do that partly because it's probably 12-point font, and there's about 12 words on a line, and they read it, and when that sentence is done, they take a pause. The problem is, when we checked with with neurologists and audiologists said, okay, if I read at 12 words at a time, and again, reading, will the audience comprehend it? No. Scientists tell us that the human ear needs a little pause after about 4 or 5 words. So speech font, 4 or 5 words a line, right? 26-point font, you can look down and read it. You look down, deliver those 4. When I glance down, my brain can pick up 4 or 5 words in a split second. Can't pick up 12. I can pick up 4 or 5, and then I can deliver them here. And when I deliver like this, I can slip down and get the next 4 or 5, and you don't even know I did it. It is not hard. The point is, in human communication, we found that when you think the words are most important, you just read them instead of delivering them. And we know from science you have to slow down or the human ear won't keep up. It'll check out. Okay? Oh, okay, so we're starting to study this and say, all right, what moves body language, hands, face, voice? Passion. Passion. I use the example when I teach. We're friends, and I look at you, and you look sad, and I say, "What? Oh, you look sad. What's the matter?" And you say, "My dog died." Okay? Say that for me. "What's the matter? You look sad." "My dog died." Go ahead, say it. "Oh my God, your dog died." My brain didn't say, or I didn't consciously say, "Steve, her dog died, she's your friend. Put your hands to your chest, Steve, because that'll look like you're compassionate." "Oh, and lower your voice. Oh my God, your dog died." We do that because that's how we communicate. So communication, a lot of it is subconscious, but that passion moved that. Again, if I told you, in my training, we do I don't teach you hand gestures. Because if I said to you, when you get up here, Steve, tell this audience they're great. But to emphasize it, put your arms up. Here's what would happen. "And you guys are great." Right? That's what would happen. You have to do it. "You guys are great. You guys are fantastic." Passion moved that. We found in our research, by the way, that passion indeed is what slowed us down, our pace, indeed gave inflection to our voice, gave tone, indeed triggered gestures. But then something happened in 2014 that turned this even further into a scientific endeavor. Because prior to this, we really thought human communication was an art. "Oh, he's just a great speaker. I can't do that. He's just great." Actually, it's kind of a science. This is what happened in 2014. The international community that studies gesturing, up until 2014, recognized that every human being had 6. Happiness, surprise, anger. There were 6 of them. We agree on those. We knew there were more. We just didn't know what to call them. And we didn't know, does everybody have them? Do a few people have them? Do people in Arab Emirates have them, but people in this part of the world don't have them? What are they? So Ohio State University took billions of images of communicators from every corner of the planet. And they put them into a computer and said, "Tell us what emotions you see in the human face." The computer, very interestingly, said a couple things. First, it said, "Those 6 that you agreed on, you're right. Everybody has those." Okay. "Oh, but by the way, everybody has 15 more. 21 total emotions in the human face." "Oh, but one other critical element. Everybody has them. North Americans don't have 20 or 18, and Asians don't have 21, and nope, everybody has those 21. What's that mean? Universal language based on passion and emotion. It turned communication on its head. And so we started studying what happens when we bring different emotions into our communication paradigm. Very interesting. If I asked you, in most speeches you're hearing today, how many emotions are you hearing out of the speaker? What's the average? You're close. A little over 1. Not even 2. No, not 3. A little over 1. Mostly because we read. When I read and I get fast, it kills my voice. I can't have passion, right? Because I'm going too fast. So we started looking and saying, okay, what if we wove 4 or 5 emotions, repeat emotions, right, into any presentation? And we would test them, and they were off the charts. People connected to those communicators. So in my training, what I do, and I teach a lot of CEOs, a lot of government officials, from ministers to presidents to prime ministers, is I got to get you to slow down. I got to get you to find what we call emotional triggers. What motivates you? What is your passion? And weave it into your presentation. And if I can do that, and you can practice it, and what I do when I work with people, we film you. I give you the training, give you all the techniques, and then we'll film you. 3-minute speech. And then we'll go back and we'll look at it frame by frame. And it's amazing how people go, oh, Professor, I was really good. I slowed down like you told me to. And then they watch your film and go, oh my God, I didn't slow down at all. But it imprints. And we'll go through that frame by frame, and usually 8 to 12 hours, I can make you a great speaker. Because you already are. It's just that you're not using it in these professional settings. So I started by saying, and I know we don't have a lot of time here, the presentation is, we have a lot of speaking, voice techniques. We have a lot of techniques on how to find emotion and passion. We have a lot of techniques on, how to posture, first impression. Did my mother used to say when we were kids, oh, you're going to a job interview, Steve, make a good first impression. I'd be like, yeah, whatever, Ma. Turns out Ma was right. In the first 5 seconds somebody sees you, when you come into a room for a presentation or a speech or an interview, they form an opinion of you. Within 10 seconds, it's solidified. So when I come in, if I came in today, instead of smiling and saying hello, happy to see you, make eye contact, if I'd have come in instead and did this, hello, 5 seconds. What are you thinking? Seems a little nervous, a little stiff, he's not very friendly. We actually did studies where we would do that, have a trained actor come in. One of them, smile and eye contact, 2 most powerful forms of human communication. We want you to use them. Hello, how are you? See that smile? He seems like a nice guy, a confident guy, as opposed to a stiff. Because the trained actors, when one came in and said, hello, how are you? Wow, what a great crowd. And then gave, by design, a very boring, flat speech. Asked the audience, what'd you think of the speaker? Loved him, loved her, did men and women. Oh, you loved her. Yeah, she was friendly, she was confident, she was smart. If they think you're confident, they think you're smart. Okay? Then we'd say, what do you think for a speech? It was a great speech. Really, you thought that speech was great. Next trained actor comes in, no eye contact, no smile. Gives exactly the same boring speech. What do you think of this woman? Terrible. Not very smart, not very friendly, not very confident. Really, you didn't like her? What about her speech? A horrible speech. Same speech. The power of that first impression, okay, is huge. Make it, and that's why you see trained politicians, right, or anybody's trained. They come out, hello, how are you? And at the end of the speech, they go, and thank you, thanks for being here, we love you. Smile at the beginning, smile at the end. It's that powerful. So in between, there's a whole lot of techniques to teach you, but I'll end where I started because we're out of time, unfortunately. I guarantee you, if you study these new, and they really are scientific, like I said, we have tested it to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, all over the world. Crosses geography, crosses culture, crosses gender. Human communication is very consistent. If you study these techniques and you practice them, you gotta work with me. I guarantee you, you'll be a great speaker. Wish we had more time, thank you.